We're going to try to cross back now to our top story and go to Lagos. Najim Animashaun joins us. Najim, thanks for being with us here on France 24. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you for having me on.
The gremlins have been cleared from the system. Let me ask you, first of all, were you surprised by Donald Trump's remarks?
Yes and no. We've been expecting something of this nature for the last couple of weeks, but we didn't realize it would be so dramatic. And Trump never skips a beat to make something very dramatic, and he made it very dramatic. The rhetoric was harsher than we had expected.
You heard that report at the outset. A lot of Nigerians a bit surprised. First of all, can you fact check what he said?
Yes, we can actually fact check a lot of what he said, and I will start by trying to make a correction on the trope that Nigeria is mainly Muslim North and then mainly Christian South. But the problems are that Nigeria is actually quite mixed across a lot of the country. The Middle Belt, which is the Middle Belt states, the states between the North and the South, often have mixed communities of both Muslims and Christians. And in the Southwest, where I am from, we are essentially mixed Muslims and Christians. So a large swath of the country is this mix of different ethnicities and different religions. So it's kind of inaccurate to say mainly Muslim North and mainly Christian South, largely because even though it is easy, it isn't exactly accurate. So there are parts of the country where there are predominantly Christians, like in the Southeast, and predominantly Muslims, like in the Northwest and some parts of the Northeast. But it is incorrect to say that it's mainly Muslim North and mainly Christian South.
Who's been whispering in the U.S. president's ear?
Well, this is the question. This has been a long-standing issue. There have been a lot of agitation from certain Christian groups to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. You might remember several years ago there was a bombing in a place called Ondo of a church, and I came onto your program to discuss that. And that was particularly unusual because it was in the Southwest, where we're from, where this doesn't usually occur. So there's been a lot of activity, and I believe one archbishop, particularly of Benue State, which is the epicenter of where many of the killings of Christians has occurred, did make a plea in America for Nigeria to be so designated as a country of particular concern.
The French news agency AFP reporting U.S.-based lobbying firm Moran Global Strategies has been lobbying on behalf of separatists this year. I presume they're referring to the southeast of Nigeria, not the southwest, advising congressional staff on what it said was Christian persecution. Could that have played a factor?
There's a lot of suspicion that there is agitation from separatists in the southeast, that this has happened. We don't have, I mean, we are aware of many of those rumors, and we believe that some of them are credible, but we actually don't think that is the only factor that is at play here. If there are separatists at work in the southeast, it does make a lot of sense, because the southeast is largely Christian. And it is, if you want to look at the southeast in terms of population and demography, the entire southeast as a voting bloc is less, and that's 5 states, is less than 2 states in the northwest.
So that gives an idea then. The reaction of Nigeria's president through his spokesperson offering to travel to Washington and meet Donald Trump. Is that the right way to go about it?
I don't advise the president, but if I were advising the president, I think that a visit to Donald Trump is a request to be a supplicant. And I think making efforts at home in Nigeria to address the problem would probably be more appreciated. I do think, if I may just digress a little, I do think it's a little bit of how can I say, chickens coming home to roost. You may recall a couple of years ago when our president threatened to invade Niger if democracy wasn't restored. And now we are being threatened with invasion if we do not address the killings of Christians. And I think it's focused everybody's minds in Nigeria. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why the president has said he's willing to go to Washington to meet with the president.
Yeah, because there's also those that say that this is retribution for Nigeria refusing to take in migrants the way other African countries like Eswatini and Uganda have done.
It's always difficult reading the tea leaves of the Trump administration, but it wouldn't be beyond the realm of plausibility that that was the case. I understand that a number of Nigerian migrants that were deported from the United States were actually flown to Ghana and then subsequently repatriated to Nigeria. Of course, once a Nigerian enters Ghana, it's a bit like the European Union. We have the ECOWAS region, which means that any Nigerian citizen can land anywhere in ECOWAS and he doesn't need a visa. It's kind of a Schengen, visa-free area like Schengen. And so the Americans could conveniently deport Nigerians to any state in West Africa, and then it'll be for the West African state to deport them back to Nigeria.
One quick final question for you, Najim Meshaun. We've been seeing among the reactions Christian leaders defending Muslims today, Muslim leaders defending Christians. How is interfaith dialogue these days in Nigeria?
Well, we're all suffering from insecurity. The southeast, where some of these agitators are from, is not free of the insecurities that are at stake. In fact, the governor of Anambra State, which is one of the leading states, in the southeast, has made a very clear statement. The southeastern governor, Governor Soludo, has made a very clear statement saying that the insecurity in the southeast and the killings in the southeast are committed by people from the southeast on people from the southeast. There are some quite vicious pogroms between communities in certain parts of the southeast. For example, in Ebonyi State, which is a border state, there have been some communal clashes that have raised whole villages to the ground. They have nothing to do with religion. And this has been a problem with some of the separatists and some of the crimes that have been committed on a quite almost an industrial scale. The problem for the Nigerian state is that the military have been deployed in many different parts of the country to deal with insecurity, counterterrorism in parts of the northeast, banditry in parts of the northwest, communal clashes in southeast, separatists in the southeast. In the Niger Delta, we have oil theft and insurgencies in the oil-producing regions. We have a multiplicity of security challenges in Nigeria, of which the killings of Christians in the Middle Belt is one, and one of the most pressing ones.
Najim Meshaun, so many thanks for joining us from Lagos.
Thank you.